Today, I visit the mansion that actually inspired a movie mansion. Once the home of newspaper magnate and movie producer William Randolph Hearst. Hearst's media empire comprised of over 25 newspapers in the USA, and it's estimated that 1 in 4 Americans read a Hearst paper. And Hearst was rich. I mean, really rich. You want to know how rich? Well, when he tired of camping here on his oceanside estate known as the Ranch, he asked his architect to build him a little something. And Hearst Castle was the result. Okay, so Hearst was anything but a common man. So it's unsurprising that in 1919 he commissioned architect Julia Morgan to design and build the truly spectacular La Cuesta Encantada, Spanish for the Enchanted Hill, which comprises 4 stunning residences, including the awe-inspiring Casa Grande. Remember, when Morgan began work on the estate in 1919, this was still 9 years before women achieved equal voting rights with men in the UK. It seems extraordinary that Hearst would have chosen a female architect to build this extraordinary, huge place.
It really is amazing, but you know, she wasn't the first individual that he selected to design here. He had talked to 3 other gentlemen to do the work, and they turned him down, said it could never be done. She said, yes, it could.
And Julia Morgan delivered in style. Take the indoor Roman pool or the outdoor Neptune pool. Mr. Hearst wrote a letter to Julia Morgan saying that Mrs. Hearst and the children would like to have a swimming pool.
What you're actually looking at, though, is the 3rd version of the pool that ended up there. And Hearst Castle wasn't a place that was just designed and built. It was a place that was designed and redesigned and built and rebuilt over a 3-decade period. So what started out as a pretty respectable swimming pool for the family turns into sort of the ultimate expression of a California swimming pool.
And when the producers of the epic Spartacus needed a Roman swimming pool, this location with its authentic Roman columns, combined with replicas, was perfect. And film historian Professor Regan joins me to explain how both Hearst and the castle inspired a cinematic great, Citizen Kane. Unbelievably, I'm sitting in William Randolph Hearst's very chair, in his very own theatre, about to order a movie to be played. Roll it, James. Starring and directed by Orson Welles, Citizen Kane was praised for its technical brilliance, but Hearst disapproved because aspects of Kane's life were based on his life. Often he felt unfavourably. Meanwhile, Hearst Castle was portrayed as Kane's palatial home, Xanadu.
Well, as you could see today, this is a vibrant, highly social place where Hearst invited his friends, the wealthy and the famous and the fabulous. Whereas Xanadu is this very sad, empty place where Kane was in isolation.
Very cold and austere, whereas Hearst Castle is rather cheerful and playful.
Right, and full of beautiful objects.
In fact, Hearst Castle contains just 1/10 of the art he collected. One of the warehouses of things that they didn't actually use in Hearst's buildings was sold. We managed to buy some beautiful Venetian balustrades that we used in Cher's house.
Oh, lucky Cher.
So the fabulous and the beautiful continue to enjoy Hearst's amazing collections.
Here we are in the assembly room, and it displays some of the larger pieces of art that Hearst collected. From the mantle over mantle, this 400-year-old French from the Chateau de Joux. And what's interesting about it is that Hearst and Getty bid against each other. And of course, you see where it is today. Who won the bidding? 2 of the world's richest men fighting over one fireplace. With their checkbooks. With their checkbooks, yes. And then you have the tapestries, the 16th century Flemish tapestries that are the originals. The copies are in the Louvre. The copies are in the Louvre, that's amazing. Copies are in the Louvre. Has the cost of building the castle and furnishing it ever been calculated? Yes, it has, but this is all 1920s dollars. Right. The construction was $6.5 million, and the art it contained at that time was $3 million. So $9.5 million in 1920s dollars.
In today's money, that would be $111 million. But with the castle full of valuable artifacts, from a $30 million statue here to a $65 million 13th century icon there, the value of the collection alone is incalculable. In fact, Hearst Castle is filled with 23,000 artifacts. And funnily enough, the job of conserving those artifacts is done by just one man. And that man is Gary Hulbert, who is hard at work, or at least he was until I stopped him. And what are you doing today?
I'm conserving a 16th century Spanish ceiling.
Now, how long is it actually going to take you to do all of this?
About 10 years.
With a very high-tech tool, I see.
You see a Q-tip.
Well, I tell you what, Gary, I'm going to leave you at that so it won't take 11 years. Enough work, it's time to party. And while Citizen Kane may be said to have condemned Hearst's successes, other artists celebrated them.
I'm Gatsby.
F. Scott Fitzgerald visited Hearst Castle, and he also often visited the estate on Long Island.
Open the gates! The gates brought in from a castle in Normandy.
I think Gatsby might be very much a reflection of the life and the parties and the excitement of the Hearst family's estate on Long Island.
Yes, you can almost feel Jay Gatsby running around this amazing castle,
Wouldn't he
right?
be fantastically part of this?
Whilst Hearst parties were much more restrained than Gatsby's, an invitation for Hollywood stars like James Stewart, Charlie Chaplin and Cary Grant to join Hearst and his mistress, actress Marion Davis, was the hot ticket. And after cocktails,
His butler would ring a cowbell, and Mr. Hearst would lead his guests into the refectory here. And this is where he would sit with Miss Davies across from him. Someone asked him, "Why don't you sit at the head of the table?" He said, "Wherever I sit is the head of the table." And Cary Grant said, "You knew it was time to go home when your place card got moved down closer and closer to the fireplace."
guests were entertained by the world's largest private zoo. A spot of tennis, or picnics on the beach, or they could just admire the view, as I am from the celestial bridge between the two bell towers.
The view is everything. A view that pretty much he owned. Everything that you can see in any direction, for the most part, was part of the 250,000 acres that he had at one time.
250,000
250,000 acres, although he did have over 1 million acre ranch in Chihuahua, Mexico at one point. So
so this
it's
was
a matter of scale.
you know you're rich when you own the view.
Right, yeah, I think that's one indication.
George Bernard Shaw told Hearst, "This is what heaven would look like if God had your money." Hearst's vision, influenced by his tours of Europe, was to bring a Mediterranean hill town to life. And the name he chose, La Cuesta Encantada, the Enchanted Hill, couldn't be more apt, because anybody that comes to visit this magnificent place cannot help but fall under its spell.